Shenanigans.
You mean shenanigans?
Shenanigans. Evil shenanigans.
Shenanigans, right?
So is motorcycles or bicycles or what is it? Just been bikes for you mostly?
Oh, no motorcycles. Anything with wheels, really.
Because I thought I saw you in the summertime riding a little... Or was that...
Oh, yeah. That's Supermoto, yeah. I bought it as a dual sport, did the Supermoto conversion and all that. But no, it's anything with wheels. I mean, I started bikes, and I skateboarded in Santa Cruz for a long time. I was, dabbling into a couple, amateur sponsors, but then broke some ankles,
Yeah, well,
that whole
hey, it is what it is.
dance, yeah.
Not everyone gets to do it, even if you're good at it.
Right, but it was mostly just fun, and didn't have much else to do. It's a part-time job when I was a kid, and I always worked.
What was Santa Cruz like?
Oh, geez, growing up there and the time I grew up there.
How old were you?
Jeez, I think we got there when I might have been 4 or 5, and then I left when I was 19 or 20.
Oh, so the fun times were...
Yeah, no, it's much different now, but it was cool, just surfer town, just, there's... Okay, it was really diverse, obviously, Bay Area, but it was, Santa Cruz itself was... We locals didn't consider it Bay Area. As far as the map went, we were
you guys,
South Bay, but
they're pretty proud of that place.
Yeah,
the people
totally.
from there typically.
Localism is big. People would go as far as
they have their own brands of shit.
Yeah, Santa Cruz got skateboards, surfboards, mountain bike. Yeah, Santa Cruz organic, the juice and the applesauces and all that. But the localism there, people were proud of that place, and they didn't like people from like the Bay Area, San Jose, over the hill they call it.
Well, and I used to live in Eugene, and the people in Springfield, we called it Spring-tucky.
Okay,
because the Springfield people were dirty people, and the people from Eugene were good. Right.
Yeah.
So no matter where you go, especially when it comes to a place that has a lot of pride, I know Hood River. That's another place that has tons of pride.
Okay.
They're windsurfers.
Oh, gotcha.
The windsurfers run that town during the season.
Right.
They run the whole thing. I was talking to one of the police, I don't know, some higher-ranking police official in that town several years back, and that's what they said. They said, yeah, when it's windsurf season, we don't have any power.
Right.
They run the whole thing.
Yeah, but it's mostly good people.
Oh, no, that's what he said. He said it's a good time, but...
Yeah, nothing really bad.
They'll handle their own business.
Yes, exactly.
I was like, what?
But no, in Santa Cruz, the localism, it went so far as, people would have road signs made, and it would be like, welcome to Santa Cruz, now turn around and go home, or Valley go home, or beat it, or whatever. And they would put them up on Highway 1 just as you're coming, I think it's Ocean Street. Yeah, Ocean, and you could branch off to Mission, go up to the west side, but down to the boardwalk, because Ocean Street was the main drag into Santa Cruz boardwalk and all that. So they'd put these signs up, Valleys go home, or just, it happened multiple times. Like actual
Valleys go home.
There's pictures, actual road signs, huge too. It took a crew of people to do this, and it was so funny to see, because there was nothing really hateful or bad. It was just,
You know what the sign is now?
What's that?
Don't California my Texas. That's what it says now.
Oregon, or all that. It's because people are leaving there like crazy.
Yeah, but the problem is they're moving to another state and they're voting the same way. Stupid.
Yeah. And then all the while they're like, we had to get out of that place.
The taxes were too high.
Blah 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 blah.
We had homeless people everywhere.
Yeah.
You voted for it.
Yeah.
So you should have to stay.
Right. Yeah, and it got expensive. I think my old man said by the time...
And that's probably why you guys left.
Yeah, by the time he left. And he had a good job over in San Jose area. I think he said the last job that he was like an estimator and like the chief bidder.
Oh, that's a good job.
So he has people work under him, but he has the final say when they push the bid through. The last one was up in 8 figures. Just something crazy, and
he gets paid accordingly.
Oh, yeah, his bonuses,
Stupid.
Yeah.
But having all of the Santa Cruz... See, my dad grew up in San Fernando.
Okay.
And he went in the Navy in 1959. So when he grew up in San Fernando, it was totally diverse. Every ethnicity you could think of, they all worked at Lockheed with my grandpa.
Right.
He says it didn't matter who you were. He says, yeah, there were pocket neighborhoods, right? There was black neighborhood. There was Hispanic. He says there wasn't as many Asians then as there is now, but they had their own neighborhoods. And it was never bad to go into somebody else's neighborhood, but they still had, like you said, some localism.
Well, they just want to see what you're up to.
Well, they're concerned about crime. So that's how the gangs kind of started in Los Angeles. Was you had some of the neighborhoods that the cops, they just really didn't do a very good job, especially when it was predominantly minorities. So what would happen is those minorities would create groups to protect themselves. My dad was in Los Angeles. He was actually on the outside of Watts during the riots in '66, up on top of a liquor store with a shotgun, helping his buddy and his dad protect their liquor store.
Wild.
He's never got there. He says, but this was what was going on.
Right.
But he says back then, they didn't even have really, no one was racist.
Right. It was just if you're
It was we're West Coasters.
Yeah.
He says he knew a Russian guy. The Russian guy stole a MiG and then came to America with $1 million. And anyway, they hit him for taxes. Because he sold the jet to the Americans for research back in the early 60s. The reason he brought this up, we were talking about immigration and the fact that if you come here, you have to have a sponsor. He says, yeah, I knew a Russian guy. He had to have a sponsor from the church. And I got to talking with him because he's a welder. And so this guy was a welder too, and they talked. And he said that he had to have the sponsor to come here, and then he told the story. He had a wife and kids back in USSR, but he was free. And I guess he spent all the money, he blew it or whatever, over in Europe.
Right.
And then they were still trying to get him pay taxes in America. Because as long as you don't come into the U.S., you're fine. But if I pay you $1 million, do you come in by the end of the year? You're going to owe taxes on that money.
That million.
It may even be 7 years. I don't know what the statute of limitations is, but they want you to pay the taxes. But this was a guy that came here and had to, and it was a cool thing. Nobody cared. Nobody cared who you were, as long as you did your job right.
Right.
They just didn't care.
I think that's what the localism and everything's all about. There's not, like you said, nothing bad. No one wants to hurt anybody, really. They just want to know.
They're protecting themselves.
Yeah, who you are, what are you up to? If you're cool, yeah, come on, have a beer, do your thing.
That's how it was back then. Now they don't want to know who you are.
Yeah,
just get out of my neighborhood.
Yeah, which is sad. But...
And there's created this tension between the police and the gangs, and because the gangs got what they do is if there's no one stopping them, they just keep growing larger and larger and larger. So all those crimes happen, and that's why they have bars on the windows now in the areas where my dad grew up that didn't. He says they were decorative. Now they're to keep people out.
Functional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he left in 1970 because of the same reason. He says, it was just getting, not that it was the crime, he says, but I just didn't feel like I could own anything. Right. The taxes were off the hook.
Yeah, my old man said they were paying, it was about $107 a day was rent for the house. And we were, I don't know, 5-minute walk to the beach,
It was a great location.
It was worth it. It was a pretty nice location, but I just couldn't justify $107 a day.
No.
And it's crazy because there's Westcliff Drive. There's those homes. I'm sure there's a couple that are rentals, but I couldn't imagine that's probably $4,000
what they do
a month.
Is they rent them by the day. They don't rent them by the month.
Oh yeah, the vacation.
They're vacation rentals.
But I'm sure. There's a lot of houses there, but
dude, Airbnb.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh my God. I talked about on one of my podcasts about doing a Airbnb type stuff. And the more I look into it, it's a lucrative way to go. If you own property and housing, why would you rent it? Airbnb it.
Yeah, that's we just came back from Mount Bachelor. We stayed in Sun River. So I don't know, have you been there?
Of course.
Seen the place? Okay, so
beautiful.
You look at Sun River. It's weird. It's like a community type of neighborhood. There's I'm just going to throw out, say, 500 houses. And some of these are anywhere from 2-bedroom to 10. The one we stayed in was a 10-bedroom lodge. It was amazing. And it's the same gig, There's a weekend, I think it cost just for this was a nice place. And, it had, 2 big water heaters, 10 rooms, a kitchen, 2 dishwashers.
It was built for this.
It was killer. It was beautiful, vaulted ceilings, all soft wood.
Yeah.
The place was gorgeous. And my wife's company foot the bill for there was 23 people were in this house, and it was a good time, but I think just the house alone was something like $2,500 for the weekend. And that was 2 days, and what do you do?
Hot tub.
As the owner, you just...
Oh, no, you pay some lady to come in and clean it up when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
That's it. So my
2 days time.
Yeah, my wife's cousin does that, or did that over on the coast. And one of the places we actually stayed in was a place that she did all the turn down service for.
Right.
And they paid her $100 to come in and clean up after everything. And it's probably worth it.
Totally.
But I remember when I was a kid, Sun River would always have these commercials on TV. It's like a resort.
Oh,
come
it's
here,
a nice place.
come here.
Yeah.
Sun,
pools,
here it comes.
water slides. They're at their own shopping center, restaurants, all.
Yep.
And you look at the map overhead, and like the design, it was confusing as hell, like driving around, especially at night. But it looks like a big crop circle design with all these roundabouts and just like it was crazy.
It's a community. It's a resort community.
Yeah, and they had golf course,
genius,
pools with waters.
Yep.
I mean, all that stuff.
It's a destination.
It was cool.
And that was
just
the
being there
thing.
alone was. I mean, shit. In the summer, I mean, it was 20 degrees when we were there, so. But it was still a good time. And we went up to Mount Bachelor. It was like 20-minute drive, and they did the whole tubing thing. And yeah, it was really fun. But yeah, it was $2,500, I think, just for the 2 nights. So it's like, why wouldn't you? If you got in a good location with something to do, there's going to be people wanting to.
It's got to be a good location.
I suppose. I mean, you're close to the river, and I guess if you advertise it right and
No, I don't
had
mean
a room
here.
or something.
I don't mean here. What I'm talking about is I wanted to do
somewhere
like 100-acre parcel and put like 50 homes on it, like smaller, the biggest small sheds that they make,
right,
and build that into like a little house, and then imagine summer camp.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the houses aren't really close to each other. They're far enough away that you can take a piss off the front porch and no one can see you.
Copy that. Yeah.
So, but then there's a main meeting area that has a mess hall and a store and all those things where you, if you don't want to, you can just stay in your cabin all
summer
day.
camps or Airbnb. I mean, whatever.
It's an Airbnb
it's
summer
really
camp.
Kind of, you just got to use your brain enough.
Airbnb summer camp. You want to come
go.
stay? Come stay. We'll have cookouts. We'll have all sorts of stuff.
Maybe even get a program.
I'd live there.
You can
This would
get
be my
some-
house that I lived at that I did
Get some
this stuff.
students from the college that are studying counseling or something, and set
you
up
go.
a kids program. Hey, you guys, we're gonna do
No.
this for you, and you deal with it. Or,
No,
I don't know.
they have summer camps for kids. I don't want this to be for kids. I want
Well,
this
no,
to
just
be for
programs you could do.
a family.
You know? Or I mean, yeah. However, I mean, possibilities.
Got to
I guess,
remember,
are endless.
weed is legal in Oregon, and people probably want to come someplace where they can be private.
Okay,
and
well,
maybe
then if
smoke a little
that's-
weed
yeah,
and not
that's
be
the,
fucked with.
That's the place you're heading, and yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
I don't mean that specifically, but that's the type of thing. I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
just aid like you can talk about it for hours.
I met a
Find
guy-
million things to do.
From New York who was a stockbroker. This was back in 94, 95. He was on his way to the country fair.
Oh, up in Veneta.
And it was him in his business suit and his, I don't even know what kind of car it is. I'm a car guy.
Right.
I have no idea what kind of car this was. It was cool looking.
Right.
I'd never seen anything like it before because I don't think they have those here. And his son was the dirtiest looking hippie I've ever seen. Both of them probably about 6'4". You know, he was a little pudgy, but the son was pretty thin. And I got to talking with the guy as I'm doing his windshield. And he's like, yeah, heading to the country fair. I was like, both of you? He's like, yeah, I'm from New York. It's the only time me and my son can drop acid and get high. And no one knows, and who no one cares.
There you go.
And I was like, what? He's like, oh, yeah, man, I was at Woodstock. He's like, yeah, just don't let this fool you. So I'm a stockbroker. So that doesn't mean I don't like to party. It's like, oh, my God.
That's-
But I can come to Oregon and I can do these things.
Yeah.
And I was
totally.
like, huh. So back then I always thought, if you could have a place where people could go and do it's kind of what they want. I don't mean anything real bad, but they want to do their drugs and stuff.
I don't have a problem with that. It's when you start hurting people or stealing or doing bad.
But if you're
and-
far enough away from someone, it would have running water and you'd have all sorts of cool stuff.
I
But
mean, you could stay there. You'd have,
yeah, you could sustain.
Yeah.
So, but a person like that would be perfect for them. I'm sure it'd be worth tons of money. The problem is now you can just go do that on the streets of San Francisco in front of the police, and they don't give a shit.
yeah,
so
and you can
you can take
That's
a shit
whole nother can of
take a
worms.
shit right on the street.
Yeah, I don't agree with that part.
Nobody
I mean,
agrees with that. It's stupid.
In the needle thing. But I mean, if you got to rock a piss, on the side of a building, real
I don't
bad,
care.
that's fine. But shitting in the road, or
On the sidewalk?
yeah, that's just.
I remember
poor form.
you'd get in trouble for spitting on the sidewalk. Do you remember when that was a thing? Do you remember hearing about this?
Yeah. That happened in Santa Cruz. Yeah.
Oh.
yeah, and they didn't. want
And
you-
gum too, I bet
They
you.
had gum, and they didn't want you smoking cigarettes downtown.
You don't throw those on the ground? Yeah,
No,
come on.
Hell no. Yeah, because I mean, it's
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 everybody's
a respect
area.
thing. Yeah,
Exactly.
I wouldn't. I don't want to walk through garbage or shit. It's
Nobody
like, so
does.
I'm not going to shit on the floor. It's just. I understand some of these homeless have nowhere to go, but there are public facilities. But
They keep building more and more.
I know. And
They drop off toilets for them just in case. They drop off sanitation stations for them. But the simple fact is these guys just,
don't.
they kind of don't want to do it. And I don't live in California, not my bag, but I just think that
Well, from a logical standpoint, like it just, I guess they have no respect, or just they're not. Mental illness, like you mentioned.
Did you see
earlier,
the dude that went in and cleaned up a couple of different big city areas? He's gays for Trump. He's this gay dude.
Okay.
And he's a Trump fan. And what he's trying to say, and he's done like 3 or 4 cities now, and they go in and they pick an area, and him and a bunch of people just go clean it out. They get in hazmat suits and they pull all the garbage out. And 2 things happen. One, the people that live there can't believe someone's trying to do something. They're blown away. They're helping. They're like, yeah. Because they don't know what to do with it. They have no idea.
No one has initiative.
That's why
anymore.
they're there. They don't have any, they don't understand certain things. So this guy comes in and they drag him through the mud. Oh, he's doing this for a political thing. And the guy tells him, look, I'm just trying to do something on the ground to help. We can talk all day. I just want to do something that helps. Something physical. And at the beginning, it's trash. At the end, it's nice. And these people they're up sweeping and stuff like they've never had it this good.
Right.
So it may not be that you got to give them housing, but cleaning some of this dump up isn't so bad. And the guy's doing it.
You mean shenanigans?
Shenanigans. Evil shenanigans.
Shenanigans, right?
Shenanigans.